Hello guys, I'm Posy and welcome back to another episode on my channel. This week I'm going to look into GitHub Copilot and GitHub's plan to offer a paid tier. If you haven't heard of it, Copilot is an AI-powered code suggestion engine that can suggest code for you as you type and saves you that extra step of googling around and copy-pasting from Stack Overflow. It acts as a pair programmer that knows what you want to type even before you do it. It even scans your code and can suggest code for you that's almost identical to how you individually write the code. It's truly a technological marvel and a lifesaver for most of us who don't have the wits to remember entire algorithms without looking them up. Copilot uses the OpenAI codec, which is an AI system that translates natural language to code. It's trained on billions of lines of code publicly available on GitHub repositories. OpenAI Codex was developed as an improvement to GPT-3, which is a language model that can generate a variety of text just from a single text prompt. While doing their research, the Copilot developers realized that GPT-3 could generate simple programs from Python docstrings. This was before the model was even trained with code, so they saw the potential of such a model if they exclusively trained it on code. The new model was called Codex, which in collaboration with GitHub became Copilot. Now that you have looked a bit into its history, we can now start asking some questions about how it's able to work as a product and even offer a paid tier. The first question that comes to mind is, can GitHub Copilot just use public code on its site to train Copilot? According to the terms of service, GitHub has a right to store, archive, parse, and display your content and make incidental copies as necessary to provide the service, including improving the service over time. This license includes the right to do things like copy it to a database and make backups, show it to you and other users, pass it into a search index, or otherwise analyze it on our servers. So yes, you own the code you post on GitHub, but posting there gives them the rights above, and it's within their powers to use your code to train their models. If you think about it, a lot of AI tools you enjoy today, like Snapchat filters, image text extractors like Google Lens, or face detection features in Google Photos, were trained using publicly available data. Most of the times, you opt into this use of your data unknowingly by just signing up to these sites. In a perfect system, you should be able to opt out of your data being used for these futuristic AI endeavors. But for now, these companies are protected by the hundreds of lines of privacy policy agreements that no one ever reads. This grants them explicit permission to use your data however they like. Another question is, do you own the code that Copilot generates? In this research citation, it's concluded that the code generated is unique to each user and is rarely copied from another source verbatim. It's always modified to fit the context within which it was used. That is, it's adapted to how you write your code, and the generated code looks as if you're the one who wrote it, even though it's extracted from code other people wrote. The context part is very important. If there's very little context, like at the start of a new file, the code generated would most probably be lifted directly from other people's code verbatim. Also, if the code you're writing is not unique, then the code generated is always a very popular implementation of what you're doing. For example, the Zen of Python is a Python philosophy that a lot of Python devs know by heart or have heard of. It hasn't changed for a long time. So if you tell Copilot to generate it for you, it will always produce the same output. However, this quickly changes if you provide more context to Copilot. This looks okay for publicly available code or pieces of text that Copilot can just copy. What if the code generated is open source but has licensing restrictions? Right after Copilot was launched in 2021, there was an example of it parroting exact code, including comments, of a popular function that performs first inverse square root. This code was originally written for the Quake 3 Arena multiplayer game. The problem was the specific code was GPL licensed, but Copilot generated the wrong license and copyright holder with the code. This is in breach of the GPL license. I'm not going to dive into the semantics of GPL and other licenses because it's a lot, but basically, GPL licenses are very restrictive in general. You have to include the license along with all the code you produce, and also, although allowed to sell the software, you must provide your source code to third parties at no cost. This makes it very tricky to use it in commercial environments. So Copilot can put you at odds with the law without you knowing it. To answer the question we started with, GitHub CEO says that training Copilot with public data, including GPL code, falls under fair use and you own its output. but they also acknowledge the gray area currently between AI and intellectual property. It's still not safe to use GPL code generated by Copilot in your software and claim it as your own. Another question is, does Copilot upload your code and use it as training data? The question is answered in their frequently asked questions section of the Copilot landing page. First, Copilot collects user engagement data and general statistics like the code snippets you access or reject. When you press the tab key to load a code snippet, your choice is sent to Copilot together with anonymized personal data that can't be traced back to you. They call these user engagement data. Copilot also uploads your code back to its server to help it make better code suggestions. This is how Copilot can suggest code that is extremely relevant to you, including variable names, and even mimic exactly how you write code. They also note that although they upload your code to their servers, it isn't suggested to other Copilot users, only to you. According to me, this implies that since your code is fed back to the suggestions engine, it can be used as suggestion to other users, but not as your code. It's anonymized, and elements that make the code unique to you are removed. To put it simply, your code is mixed with other people's code as training data to produce new code that is no longer yours. Should Copilot charge $10 a month for access to it? The common argument to this is that since Copilot is trained on publicly available code, which is freely available to everyone, it should also offer the service for free. While it's true that they use public code, training the models costs a lot of money and uses very huge amounts of computing power. Charging $10 a month for the service is a fair compensation to them considering the amount of work they put into it. Also, it's important to know that Copilot is free for students and open source maintenance, so that's a great source of goodwill. The responsibility ultimately lies with you as the user on whether you want to integrate Copilot in your programming workflow after knowing all this. Although powerful and a great pair programmer, some issues like the inability to properly credit code authors is something that you should keep an eye on, especially when using it in commercial environments. Everybody thinks about intellectual property differently. Personally, I'm all for anyone to use my code for free however they like. You can't put a price on lines of code. We are all able to work using amazing programming languages and tools because their creators chose to make them publicly available for anyone to use no matter their location or expertise. Open source code is the single biggest driver of innovation in lots of industries today. Copilot is one of the products of such innovation and should be appreciated as such. Introducing legalities and copyright laws only serves to derail its development. That's all I have on the topic, guys. I'm really thankful to you for watching the video. Feel free to share any opinions on this topic in the comment section below. Goodbye for now.